Jimmy Kimmel returns to ABC with emotional monologue. Key takeaways. As Kimmel returns, he is expected to address the controversy that led major station groups to drop his late-night comedy show. Back on the air after nearly a week away, ABC host Jimmy Kimmel taped a new episode of his late-night show on Tuesday, using it to directly address the controversy surrounding the suspension of his program on the channel. Jimmy Kimmel Live, his eponymous show, was paused nearly a week after controversial remarks by the host about the alleged assassin of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, which provoked backlash from the administration of President Donald Trump and some broadcasters. I have no illusions about changing anyone's mind, but I do want to make something clear, because it's important to me as a human, and that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man, Kimmel said, his voice breaking. I don't think there's anything funny about it, he added. Here is what we know about his return. What's the context? On September 10th, Kirk was shot dead while speaking at a university event in Utah. After a 33-hour manhunt, police arrested 22-year-old Tyler Robinson and charged him with aggravated murder. Prosecutors later revealed that, despite coming from a staunchly Republican family, Robinson's politics had recently shifted to the left, based on interviews with his relatives. Before those details emerged, Kimmel had taken aim at Trump and his supporters, accusing the MAGA gang of twisting the story for political gain by claiming the suspect was left-leaning. He also mocked Trump's response to Kirk's death, noting that while the president called the slain activist a close friend, he also digressed into remarks about White House renovations, dismissing it as childish. Those comments led to a strong backlash. On September 17th, broadcasters Nexstar and Sinclair pulled Jimmy Kimmel Live from their stations. The controversy escalated further when Federal Communications Commission Chairman Brendan Carr urged action against Kimmel, Disney, and ABC, a move critics condemned as government overreach. In the days that followed, some viewers launched a boycott campaign against Disney+, Hulu, and ABC, rallying around hashtags like #CancelDisney and #CancelABC. What do we know about Jimmy Kimmel's monologue? Kimmel returned to his late-night stage with an emotional monologue that ran about 18 minutes, addressing the controversy that had kept his show off the air. He emphasized that he never intended to assign blame to any group for Kirk's assassination. But he also criticized efforts by regulators, particularly the FCC, to silence comedians. That's not legal. That's not American. It's un-American, Kimmel said. He thanked those who had stood by him, including fellow late-night hosts and even some unexpected conservative figures. He acknowledged that he disagreed with Disney's decision to pull his show, but also expressed gratitude to the company, which owns ABC, for defending his right to satirize the powerful and for allowing him back on the air. Unfortunately, and I think unjustly, this puts them at risk, he added. Kimmel also took direct aim at the president. The President of the United States made it very clear he wants to see me and the hundreds of people who work here fired from their job. Our leader celebrates Americans losing their livelihoods because he can't take a joke. Kimmel closed with a reflection on free expression. This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this. Kimmel also spoke more broadly about free speech, saying he had learned from comedians like Lenny Bruce, George Carlin, and Howard Stern that a government threat to silence a comedian the president doesn't like is anti-American. He said he was heartened to see solidarity across the political spectrum, adding, "We do agree on a lot of things. We agree on keeping our children safe from guns, on reproductive rights for women, Social Security, affordable health care, pediatric cancer research. These are all things that most Americans support. Let's stop letting these politicians tell us what they want and tell them what we want." The most emotional moment came when Kimmel invoked the example of Erica Kirk, who forgave her husband's assassin during Kirk's memorial service. "That is an example we should follow," he said, his voice breaking. "If you believe in the teachings of Jesus as I do, there it was. That's it. A selfless act of grace, forgiveness from a grieving widow. It touched me deeply, and I hope it touches many, and if there's anything we should take from this tragedy to carry forward, I hope it can be that and not this. So, thank you for listening, and I'll have more to say when we come back. Kimmel has always been more than just a late-night talk show host. He's been a cultural commentator, a sharp-witted satirist, and on many occasions, the voice of empathy when the world needed one. When Kimmel returned to ABC with his latest monologue, it wasn't just another comedy-filled night in Hollywood. It was a reminder of why his platform matters. Emotional, raw, and sprinkled with the signature humor that makes him relatable, Kimmel delivered a speech that quickly became the talk of the internet. His return monologue wasn't about dazzling celebrities or scripted gags, it was about connecting with his audience in a way only Kimmel knows how. Below are the key takeaways from his highly emotional night back on ABC, and why it resonated with viewers far beyond the late-night crowd. 1. A raw acknowledgement of absence. Kimmel began by addressing his absence head-on. For weeks, fans had speculated about his silence and what it meant. Instead of brushing it aside, he leaned into the vulnerability of the moment. His eyes watered, his tone softened, and he admitted that sometimes stepping away is necessary. Not just for him, but for his family and his sanity. It was a deeply human moment, one that stripped away the polished veneer of late-night television. This wasn't a comedian putting on an act. This was a man talking to millions of strangers as if they were old friends. It set the tone for what would become one of his most poignant monologues to date. 2. A father first, host second. One of the most powerful elements of Kimmel's speech was his reminder that his most important role isn't behind the desk. It's at home as a father. Viewers remember when Kimmel previously opened up about his son Billy's health struggles, using his platform to advocate for affordable health care. This time, he circled back to the same theme. Family always comes first. With a trembling voice, he shared that the decision to step away from the show was influenced by personal priorities. He admitted he needed time to recalibrate, to be present, and to remind himself of what truly matters. For millions of viewers, many of whom juggle work, family, and personal challenges, his message struck a familiar chord. 3. Humor as a healing tool. Of course, this was still a Jimmy Kimmel monologue, which meant even the heaviest revelations were balanced with humor. After reflecting on the seriousness of his break, he quipped about how his kids were less impressed by their dad on TV than by the neighbor with a trampoline. The audience erupted in laughter, and the tension in the room shifted. It was classic Kimmel, acknowledging the pain, then inviting everyone to laugh through it together. Humor has always been his coping mechanism, and on this night, it wasn't just for him. It was a gift to his audience, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, laughter can be a lifeline. 4. Commentary on the world we're living in. No Kimmel monologue would be complete without a sharp-eyed reflection on current events. But this time, instead of diving straight into satire, he took a softer approach. He admitted that the world feels overwhelming. Politics, division, global crises, and that sometimes it's hard to know whether jokes even matter. Yet he made a strong case for why late-night comedy still matters. Because it gives people a place to come together, even for just an hour, and laugh about the absurdity of it all. We may not fix the world in one night, he said, but maybe we can make it feel a little less heavy. This balance of vulnerability and hope was one of the most powerful takeaways of the night. Kimmel reminded his viewers that it's okay to feel weighed down, but it's also okay to let yourself laugh. 5. Gratitude to fans and team. Kimmel made it clear that his return wasn't just about him. It was about the people who supported him during his break. He thanked his audience for sticking by him, for sending messages of encouragement, and for tuning in week after week. He also showered gratitude on his staff and fellow comedians, who stepped up during his absence. In true late-night fashion, he teased some of them with tongue-in-cheek jokes, but it was evident that his appreciation was genuine. For Kimmel, the show has never been a solo act. It's been a family. 6. A subtle call to action. The monologue wasn't political in the traditional sense, but Kimmel still found ways to weave in subtle calls to action. He spoke about kindness, empathy, and the importance of being present in the lives of the people we love. In a world where outrage often dominates headlines, Kimmel offered a counter-message. Connection matters more than division. He challenged viewers not just to laugh with him, but to carry that spirit of compassion into their daily lives. It was less of a lecture and more of an invitation to reflect, something that made the speech resonate long after the cameras stopped rolling. 7. A promise to keep it real. Perhaps the most moving moment of the monologue came when Kimmel promised his audience that he would continue to be honest, even when it wasn't easy. This job is about laughter, he said, but it's also about truth. It was a powerful reminder that comedy doesn't exist in a vacuum. Kimmel has often used his platform to address serious issues, whether healthcare, gun violence, or social justice. By promising to keep telling the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, he reassured viewers that his show will remain both entertaining and meaningful.